This episode of Manage Smarter is presented by Sales Fuel Coach, our adaptive sales coaching featuring 5-minute quick coaching personalized to each sales rep. Learn more about Sales Fuel Coach at salesfuel.com. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
Hey, Lee, when's the last time you called the main switchboard for Sales Fuel? Just dialed in like a customer.
Well, if I'm looking at Jason Bradshaw's website and everything like that. He's got a picture of him as a 14-year-old on a phone, and I had that same phone. It looks like a Kyocera Palm Pilot smartphone, and that when I used that phone might have been the last time I did that.
Okay, well there you go. Because the customer experience, especially now in this pandemic, is something that you probably need a refresher course on. And Jason Bradshaw, our guest today, is going to give it to us. Welcome to Manage Smarter, everyone. I'm Audrey Strong. I'm Vice President of Communications here at Sales Fuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith, the President and CEO of Sales Fuel.
So let me thank Jason for joining us all the way from Sydney. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Audrey. Hi, Lee.
Hey there.
And you have a lot in common with our CEO, Lee, because both of you, well, at 14, you were starting your own business, Jason. Me, I was just trying to decide what boy I wanted to date. I wasn't particularly entrepreneurial at that age and what nail polish to wear. But at 14, everybody, Jason started his own telecommunications, hence the phone, and hardware distribution business. It was then he began a lifelong passion for customer experience and says every crisis is an opportunity to grow and re-examine. He went from teen entrepreneur to a global thought leader on customer experience and employee experience, delivering growth through examining those things. And so he's got the breadth and the depth of experience to inspire, engage, and deliver results, and author of a book. You got to get this. I'm going to spell for it. It's all about sex.
That's quite a tease.
EX, the customer experience, the essential guide to customer and employee experience. Get the book. It's on Amazon. It's on his website. And the website, everybody, before you type in jasonbradshaw.com, that's not his website. It's Jason S as in Sam Bradshaw.com. Okay, Jason, that was your big intro. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show and letting me have this conversation with you guys and all your listeners.
So, I mean, let's talk about the pandemic. It's changed the way we do business, and it's definitely changed both the customer and the employee experience. I mean, it's a big umbrella. Where do you want to start?
How about it sucks?
That's clinical diagnosis, Dr. Smith. Yeah.
So the pandemic obviously is devastating from a humanity point of view, but I do think that it's given organizations pause or the catalyst to actually start caring about their customers and employees again. You know, those businesses that ignored the impacts of the pandemic or that are continue to ignore them are the ones that are really hurting. Yet every day we see articles and stories being shared about companies that have completely pivoted, become obsessed about loving, if you like, on their customers and their employees, finding new ways to operate, and actually are starting to thrive and continue to grow their businesses. And I don't think that was any different before the pandemic, except for now they've had this big kick up the to get focused on improving the lives of people that they serve, whether that be their team members or their customers.
I'm a big fan of the Disney Institute, and I went through it as far as the learning all about the customer experience and how they operate their theme parks and things like that. And just recently, because of COVID over here in the States and, also in Paris and the like, they've totally had to rethink, their customer experience and how their cast members interacted with the customers and everything like that. So parts of Disney has reopened, but it's like even someone like that really had the customer experience down, and I thought was actually one of the best at it. Because of COVID, had to totally go back and rethink just about everything that they did. And are you seeing the same kind of thing pretty much across every industry that you consult with?
Certainly seeing it much wider and broader than normal. And the good folk at the Disney Institute, one of the things that they talk about is their chain of excellence. And I don't think Disney changed it at all in many respects because of the pandemic. They just went back to their foundations, what's most important to them. And the first part of their chain of excellence is the safety of cast members, which is their team members, and guests. And so they re-engineered what that experience would look like in this pandemic world that we're living in at the moment, for sure. But they didn't move away from their core values. They went straight back to them and said, how can we achieve what we promised to our guests? And the first thing that they promised to achieve is a safe environment for their cast members to work and serve their guests. And that's what I see where companies struggle all the time, is that they don't have a really clear foundation of what matters to them. You know, customer experience isn't about hugging and loving on everybody. It's about serving your core clients in the best way possible that delivers value for them and value for you as the organization. And I think that's where we get tripped up quite a lot, is that companies feel that customer experience is about being everything to all people. It doesn't have to be. You know, not most companies. Amazon's probably the small exclusion. Most companies don't sell every product made to mankind. So therefore, you don't need to be all things to all people. You just simply need to be the best at what you sell and provide through living up to the experience that you promise.
So how would you define customer experience? Like, you know, when I think of it, I think in terms of creating a positive emotional experience, for your customer. How do you define it?
So for me, customer experience or employee experience, they're pretty much the same, is the stories, the memories that become the stories that people share. So it's not the customer service transaction. It's not the car or the fridge. It's not the commodity that you buy. It's the combination of all those transactional elements that form memories that become the stories that we tell, good or bad, about the places we work and shop.
So are there some additional enhancements and methods that you're recommending? And I know it's different for B2B versus B2C, but to your clients, in the circumstances we find ourselves in now, things that we should be adding to the experience that we might not be doing right now?
So the number one tip that I have for anyone at the moment is communication. Yeah. Now, I'm sure that I'm not the only one saying this in many disciplines. From a sales point of view, communication is key. From a service point of view, communication is key. But from an experience point of view, it's everything. Customers just want a sense of surety at the moment. You know, in an unsure world, the best thing that we can do is make something absolutely known so that they know what to expect. They're not navigating, when we go to bed tonight, we don't know what we're going to wake up to tomorrow in terms of this pandemic. Anything could have happened. But if I know that if I go and transact with an organization, that they're going to do these 5 things and it's going to make it a safer experience for me, and that I trust that, then I'm more likely to do business with them. Organizations that have pivoted very quickly to have curbside pickup or contactless delivery, all of those things are about providing customers with absolute surety of what they're going to be getting as their experience at the moment. And people just want safety. There's safety in knowledge, and that comes through the communication.
I said at the top of the show, it sucks because, like whenever I go to a restaurant or something like that, it's a normally consistent restaurant that delivers it perfectly every time. Now, in the throes of this or whatever, it's like their quality is like all over the place. The customer experience, of course, is obviously, we're just trying to be safe and just trying to transact some basic form of business. So that they've kind of thrown that out the window, some of necessity, but some, maybe not. Anyway, my point there is, like, what clients do you have that are absolutely doing it right now?
Well, Disney's not a client, but I definitely think Disney has led by example in terms of providing that real sense of safety for guests and not being absolutely driven from the commercial element. Now, of course, shareholders and organizations need that commercial element. But Disney's been very much, we'll take this we'll communicate what we know today, and we'll continue to communicate how those things evolve. I was actually due to be in the States in the next few weeks to go on a Disney cruise, and unfortunately I can't go on that right now because the Australian government's closed our borders. You can't get in and we can't get out. But I rang Disney and Disney Cruises because I needed to organise a refund or a credit, and I was blown away by just their IVR, so the automated voice response when you ring in. They, as part of that script, which in some respects you would think isn't really Disney, but in other respects you'd go, of course Disney would do that. But in their automated script, it talks about our cast members are working from home. So if you hear a dog bark in the background or a child talk, that's okay because our cast members are important to us and that's the safest way for them to be. And then I had a very short delay until I connected to someone. The cast member answered the phone. I explained the situation, and within seconds, my refund had been processed. There was no arguing. There was no trying to rescue the sale. It was, let's build the relationship. Let's look after the relationship, and then move on to how we can connect with that customer in a later time period. And I think there's some great examples of customers and organizations doing that all throughout the world. People like Apple who have not been afraid to close their retail stores and say that they expect their team members to work from home for the remainder of the year to be safe. You've got companies like Qualtrics, which is the world's leading research survey company, and not only are they openly telling their people not to go to the office because there's no need to, they're providing organizations with tools to help understand what their team members need right now to navigate this. And that, there's lots of little examples and big ones where companies are just being open and transparent.
Well, Volkswagen comes to mind. All right. So I guess they're really pushing hard the online sales experience and everything like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So at Volkswagen in Australia, we launched in under 15 days a complete online sales channel. And that wasn't to take our dealer partners out of the experience. It was to actually ensure that our customers could connect with our dealer partners from the comfort of their home and continue to buy their new vehicle and book in their vehicles for service. And we've done hundreds of millions of dollars through that online sales platform. And the pandemic gave us that injection to speed up our innovation in that digital space. And that's not going to go away, of course, as customers realize that it's perhaps an easier, more convenient way for them to transact business. And meantime, because our dealer partners are part of the process, they've also, let's do a test drive, but do it from your house, and we won't do the test drive with you, so that there's that distancing factor considered.
We'll run alongside the vehicle as you drive down the street.
I think they just probably stay there and wait for them to come back. But Lee, if that's a challenge, I'm up for it.
Well, it seems to me, and I was going to say this before you guys talked about those two examples, which are excellent, is that whether you're selling widgets or cars or whatever, it's that walking yourself through streamlining and making the employee or the customer experience easier is appealing to me as a customer, because I'm just feeling like everything right now is so hard. And I'm feeling anxious and stressed out, and somebody who makes it easier for me to get one more thing off my list. So how do you recommend? You have a process, Jason, to remove process? If I could
a process for the process.
A process to remove the process to streamline the customer experience.
It sounds like something that I used to talk about when I worked in government. So the first thing that I would say about making things easier for customers, and I know that I probably should be talking about my book here, but I'd certainly recommend my good friend Shep Hyken's book, The Convenience Revolution. He provides some really practical examples of how companies pivot and make things more convenient for customers and thrive as a result. But one of the things that I talk about in my book, It's All About CEX, that's CEX, is don't wait till you've built out this massive strategy and implemented this big bang, solution that's going to solve world hunger. Get started today by making 1% improvements. Get started by making small tweaks every day to improve the experience. And the really sad thing is almost every organization, big or small, has the information at their fingertips about what customers what customers love and what they don't love in the organization. You can, whether you SurveyMonkey or a corporate product like Qualtrics, most organizations survey their customers at some point, and if they don't, they've definitely got Google reviews. Just look at your top 10 reasons people hate on you.
There you go.
Choose one of them and start working on it.
Yeah. In your book, you talk about winning loyalty, and I want to ask you about how to advance someone from being satisfied to being loyal. Because think of it as like, would you rather your wife be satisfied or would you have your wife be loyal? And so, So how do we instead of measuring customer satisfaction, and we should be measuring loyalty. So how do we actually advance somebody from being satisfied as a customer to being loyal?
So for me, satisfaction is that first step before you get to loyalty, of course. You can't have a dissatisfied customer and have them loyal unless you're the only person that makes or sells that product. And then I would say that's a slightly different situation. So first of all, it's consistency. Loyalty comes from being consistent at doing what you say you're going to do. So, if that's Zappos with absolutely overnight shipping of their shoes, or Amazon with, their 2-day delivery guarantee, whatever that promise that you make to your customer is, first of all, make sure your customer knows what you're promising. And second, deliver on it, not once, not twice, but consistently. And that is so much more powerful than saying to your customer, it will arrive in 5 days. And sometimes it gets there in 3, and sometimes in 4, and sometimes in 5, because customers just want to know when it's going to be there. So consistency breeds trust, and trust breeds loyalty.
That makes sense. Well, we've got about a minute left. What else do you want to share with our audience? Is there anything on the employee experience side of things? Obviously, I know here at Sales Fuel, we're put together a whole plan for in-office working and things like that. But employee experience, can you speak to?
Yeah, just really quickly on employee experience. Pick up your last bunch of exit surveys. So people that have left your organization, identify the top 3 reasons people left your organization and decide whether that's because you're not delivering on your promise to them. And if you're not delivering on your promise, find ways to eliminate those 3 things so that you attract and retain top talent.
That makes sense. Well, you do keynote presentations, online training, you got the book, you got all kinds of stuff going on. So everybody remember, it's Jason S as in Sam Bradshaw. That's your Twitter, your website, and your LinkedIn. And I
have one last question, Audrey. I got to jump in on this. And I know you hate it when I do this, but I have to know this. Okay. So
that's all right.
Title of your book, It's All About Sex, CEX. But it's like, what is the weirdest request for an interview or media gig or anything like that you've gotten because of the title of your book that you can share?
So this isn't so much a weirdest interview request, but I was asked to give a keynote presentation in Las Vegas on day 2 of their program after they had an awards night. You could imagine that people were not in the mental or physical state necessarily for an 8:30 a.m. keynote presentation for an hour. And I walk up on stage and I said, I'm going to talk to you about sex. And well, I had everyone's attention.
Yeah. I bet you did. I thought you were going to say it was some sort of, offbeat convention that misinterpreted the title and nobody.
Yeah, the one that goes on at the same time as the Consumer Electronics Show, for example.
No, that's a good.
Well, that certainly would be different.
Well, now we've piqued their interest. I hope everybody goes out and gets the book. And Jason, it's such a pleasure having you on, and great food for thought, great tips, and great anecdotes between the two of you guys. Good ideas. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Audrey and Lee, and listeners for having me on today.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.